We are good to go, Dale.
Hey, everybody. It's Dale Jr. for the Dale Jr. Download. We're live for the Ask Junior part of the show. Thanks for supporting the YouTube channel. We got a little bit of a 10-minute block to do this before we get our guests in here. Ryan Blaney and his dad, Dave, are coming by thanks to Advanced Auto Parts. And, so let's get these questions going, see what you guys got on top of mind here.
Our first question's coming from Higgy. Was there anything about the IMSA race at Sebring that caught you by surprise? Perhaps something that you learned by covering these endurance races that you didn't see or notice while you were driving in the past?
Well, there's a 10-minute answer to that, but it's the race was really, really good. And, if you didn't watch it, you missed it, a pretty exciting race. For some reason, I really enjoy the endurance races, calling the race, being part of the broadcast. You're forced to kind of follow along with every moment. When we take breaks and step out of the booth, we still are watching the race and trying to, stay on top of what's happening so that when we hop back in the booth after a couple hours of break, you feel like you're really aware of everything that's been going on and what everybody's challenges are, because throughout the race, every team faces some sort of obstacle, difficulty, and it's just really fascinating to me. I got into broadcasting in my mind. Was like, man, I'm just going to do NASCAR. It's all I want to do. I don't care about doing anything else. I don't want to climb up the broadcasting ladder and do anything beyond just NASCAR races. But my opinion about that has kind of changed a lot. Plus, getting to work with Diffie and Calvin and Townsend and the rest of the crew. You meet a lot of different people in the NBC family, whether they're, on-air talent or anybody in the production team. So it's great to make those connections and show people maybe what you're capable of so that maybe next time they're doing a show, they want you to be there and want you to be a part of it. So I get to learn from watching those guys. Diff is amazing. And he's just kind of a jack of all trades, can do anything. You put him in the booth, and he can run the show. And just a lot of fun to get to know Calvin and Townsend. Townsend's hilarious. He's kind of sneaky, funny, throws in some pretty funny one-liners throughout the race. But I just love learning more about IMSA, learning more about what they're trying to do and who they're becoming. They changed the sport. They've changed a lot of the rules, and they kind of continue to evolve and do things that they can to try to improve the show. And I think a lot of the things that, I'll just say that we've covered two races, the 24-hour of Daytona and the 12-hour Sebring, and they've both been fantastic. We had drama to the very, very finish of a 12-hour race at Sebring. It was crazy. There was a lot of things that were impressive. But obviously, I think at the end for Sebastian Bourdais, the wing broke, and he lost a ton of rear downforce, and I guess, and so the car became really, really challenging for him to drive, and he lost this really comfortable lead that he had, and so he had probably 3 or 4 cars within a couple seconds right on his tail, and in that moment, I don't know if he recognized exactly what broke, but he made changes inside the car with the sway bars and whatnot, and all the tools that he had inside to change the balance of the car, and kind of stop the bleeding, so to speak, and got up on the wheel and didn't lose the lead. I just don't know that a lot of drivers would have been able to find another gear or find some more inner strength or whatever you want to call that. You're exhausted. It's a long race. A part failure at that moment could take all the wind and energy out of the moment. And man, he flexed and made it happen. And really, really cool. Plus, if you really know anything about Sebastian's career and the crash at Texas and IndyCar and the setback there and some of the things that he's been through, I have to imagine that was a really great feeling for him to come out on top, but also have sort of, put the car on his back and drove, carried it to victory lane. So I just was really impressed with what I experienced and saw from a completely different discipline of motorsport. And So I for the most part, people can be really particular. The motorsport families, like Dirt and NASCAR and IMSA and all, they're very passionate about those sports or those divisions or disciplines that they follow, and I just appreciate everybody kind of being cool with me being there. I'm a NASCAR guy, so I try not to annoy them with my NASCAR. So I just try to compliment the show, and learn. It's fun.
Our next question coming from Timothy Robinson. Can you talk about your dad's 89 Busch car at Daytona, the Lowe's Foods car? Why the one race deal with Pontiac? How did that come about?
Okay, back around, what year was that?
89?
Yeah, seems about right. I think Buddy Baker was Buddy Baker's team, and Buddy was going to drive the car in the Xfinity race, and I think it might have been a different number. And Buddy got hurt. Something happened, but he needed to still enter that car in the race to be able to get the sponsorship money that was promised to him, and so I think Dad drove the car for him. I think that might have been the same year that Dad crashed his car in practice. There might be I might be incorrect, but I know Dad was down there with a Monte Carlo and wrecked. No, I think he ended up racing his own car, his other car in that race. But anyhow, Dad, maybe he wasn't even entered in the Xfinity race, but he was doing a solid, I think, to Buddy Baker so that Buddy could have his car raced and accumulate the sponsorship money promised to the team and all that while Buddy was getting well. So it was kind of like a favor. I think they did okay. Kind of ran top 10 most of the race. I don't even know where he finished. But
our next question coming from Andrew Bluff. What are your thoughts on the tire allotment in the Xfinity Series, and is that something the Cup Series should consider?
Well, the Cup Series does have a tire allotment or limit on tires, and sometimes at places like Darlington where there's a lot of wear and a long race, they have to be particular about when they're going to come down pit road and take those tires. It's obviously not as difficult as what the Xfinity guys face, where they only have a couple sets and they know that they can't put tires on every single time a caution comes out. I think that if the teams want that, if the teams want to spend less money, that's a great place to look at the tire bill and the expensive tires. But I think if they cut one set of tires out at a lot of these racetracks, it's less than $100,000. It's like $20,000 or $40,000 or something like that in savings. And will that make the racing that much different or better? I don't know. So for me, they got a great system going. I don't see anything wrong with it. Don't think it's broke. Don't think it really needs any adjusting. So we kind of need to leave it alone, I think.
Next question coming from Kevin Thomas. In a constantly changing sport/world, what's something you rely on at the racetrack that has remained the same that gives you that nostalgic NASCAR feeling?
Man, I don't know. What comes to your mind, Mike?
What was the question? I'm getting blown up.
Thanks for paying attention, Mike.
I'm getting blown up saying congratulations on going to the Falcons, and I'm and Freddie.
Oh, congratulations!
Apparently, Mike Davis is trending right now, and I'm getting just nothing but text. What was the question?
In a constantly changing sport/world, what's something that you rely on at the racetrack that has remained the same that gives you that nostalgic NASCAR feeling?
Oh, good grief!
Yeah,
that's a big question.
I think of
on the track.
Nothing like this, like the smells at the racetrack. Like that's something that's probably never changed, right? Like rubber, like burning rubber. Like that's what comes to my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a weird question. I'm pretty pretty nostalgic. The thing that comes to my mind is more like once I get a pair of shoes broke in, I don't like to get another pair of shoes. I'm just fine using that same pair of shoes every race. That's probably I never thought that was bad. That's probably, I don't know, not a great thing to wear the same shoe.
I'll tell you one.
All year?
Helmet.
I wear the same helmet all year.
You know what's cool over the years is when you got like the same security guard that you develop a relationship with that's been there for 20 years. And there's a guy at Daytona who you honestly develop a relationship with, and just like, man, good to see you. You see him once or twice a year, right? That's always kind of fun. But very rare at these days,
Right.
people, you always got the yellow coats at the Indy track, so you can always, but you don't develop relationships with them, at least in a good way.
Yeah, I think that the other thing too is people. So like Mike Helton, there's certain people that have been in the sport a long time that you trust, and that as long as they're kind of involved, that things aren't going to become take off the rails, or you're not going to get blindsided. And when I never really I don't like it when something changes. Somebody retires, or somebody has to come in, and somebody new comes in with a new whole set of eyes and a different opinion or a different agenda. That kind of stuff's difficult, but it's you learn early in the sport that there's going to be a lot of turnover and change. You got to get used to people coming and going, but you want some of them people to be there forever.
One more question from AB, who's watching on YouTube and who apparently has already listened to Door Bumper Clear from yesterday. TJ talks about being in your boxing ring twice. Is that true or false?
True.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we would it was peer pressure. We would get we would basically say you got you're hanging out with your buddies, and you got two guys that are like, I'll get in there. And they're like, yeah, I'll get in there with you. And so you go to the boxing ring. Those two guys get in there, and then everybody starts to realize, I'm going to have to get in there. I'm going to get forced, the peer pressure, right? And so the two guys that originally are going to fight, and everybody else is at some point the next, before we leave, everybody's in the ring, right? At one time or another.
It's like in high school, if your girlfriends fight, you're like, look at the other guy, and we're like, we're going to have to probably do this. I don't want to, but listen, I guess we're going to have to.
Yes, yeah. So, and it's fun. I mean, everybody would get in there and get popped in the nose, and then that was kind of that was your pass to get out.
It's funny. TJ says he whooped the first guy, but then he got in there with Josh Snyder, who has him by about 100 pounds probably, and he said that's where
I think he's still scarred from that.
That was his final fight. He didn't get back in after that.
I remember TJ was down. TJ was down to get in there with this one guy, and they got in there and fought.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like didn't take much pressure to get TJ to get in there with one particular person I know. Yeah.
He's deceptively strong.
He is, dude. It's hard to admit this, but me and him have arm wrestled for years, and I can't beat him.
What?
Most people cannot beat TJ in arm wrestling. I've never seen anybody beat him.
Thanks for having my back on this.
It's true.
I don't know where the strength comes from, because it doesn't look like he could beat you. So that's why I continue to try to, eventually defeat him one day. But
he says he baled hay back in New York when he was a kid, and everybody on Twitter blasted him. They're like, ain't no way you've ever baled hay. But if he did, that would explain it.
Yeah. He's strong. It's crazy.
You learn something new every day. All right, guys. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah, it is. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for Ask Junior. It's going to be a great podcast. Dave Blaney is a guy I've wanted to talk to for a long time. Obviously, Ryan is a great friend of the show. So that'll be out later today. Tonight. Yeah. So again, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for supporting our YouTube channel. All you guys that are tuning in are the hardcore fans that keep the show going. So have a great week.